What's up, guys?
What's up, Bruno? How are you?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
The T-shirt. You show us the T-shirt?
UFC title contender fight.
Okay, nice. Is that how you feel? You feel like this is a really big contender fight for the division?
Yeah, man. That's what I think. Four fight. Yeah, four performance in a row. Four fight win streak. Nobody has that on the flyweight division. Manel Kape is a big name, number 9. That's what I'm thinking. I can be next.
Yeah. So what is at stake here? You say like you could be next. Do you feel like maybe a title shot is up for grabs here? A lot of people are thinking that maybe Brandon Royval is going to be next for Pantoja, but do you feel like you can do something spectacular on Saturday and be the next guy in line?
Yeah, exactly. Five performs of the night in the row. It can be the next. The exactly way that the Kaya Sakura come from rising, and fight for the title. Manel Kape was the rising champ. He was probably next for the title, but he lost to Mokaev. But now he got another chance. Yeah, I believe after this fight, the winner can be next.
Yeah.
Because Pantoja already beat almost the whole top 10, so I believe I can be next.
With that being said, you feel like is this the biggest fight of your career?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Always the next fight's the biggest fight, right? But for sure, I'm fighting with the top 9 right now. It's the biggest.
Yeah. And talk to me about that Pantoja and Sakura fight. What'd you think of that fight and overall Pantoja's performance? A lot of people feel like he's probably the most underrated champion today in the UFC.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. We respect that. We know the Japanese is really good striking, fast. But 135, when you go down to 125, you're a different man. So we're thinking about like Pantoja can finish, and I was thinking the third round. He finished in the second, even better. Yeah, amazing performance, tough guy.
Yeah. Lastly, Manel Kape has sometimes been a very difficult to deal with, like in terms of like outside of fight week stuff with his opponents. I don't know. Have you had any run-ins with him?
No. Actually, we trained together before in Vegas because we got the same manager, Ali. So he speak Portuguese like me. We're good, He's actually was really nice with me. He's like, hey, you need something, But now we're fighting, so we're kind of, like you look to each other different ways. But I'm good, man. This is just, this is our job, and have a not against anybody. Just come here, make money, living the dream. That's it.
Bruno, how does it feel to have multiple fights in a year? It's the first time since 2021 that you've been able to compete more than once.
Yeah, man, feels amazing. Feels amazing. Be competing, make money, going up on the rankings. Feel good, man. Feel happy, living the dream.
And we just talked about Manel and sort of the pre-fight activities that sort of happen, and you guys seem to be fine. But I'm curious what you thought of the Muhammad Mokaev fight and that whole build, because there was all that bad blood and everything that was happening, and the fight was kind of weird to watch. And a lot of people actually thought Manel won that fight. What did you think of it?
Was I think Mokaev won that fight. For he's like he was more active, touch more Manel Kape, but because that part he was holding on the shorts, the referee couldn't take a point, so that will be like maybe a draw or Manel's winning, but I don't think so. I think Mokaev won that fight for takedowns, more points. Yeah. My sunglasses for the sun right here. We're on the
Bruno,
Tampa,
I feel like when you look at Manel, one of his best attributes is his explosiveness. Do you agree with that, or have you seen another one of his attributes that you've been focused on?
No, I agree with that. He's a very explosive guy, fast. I gotta be careful with that, with the flying knees and all that. But after more than 10 years training MMA with so many good guys, was with Cejudo for 10 years. Now I'm an American top team. So many good fighters. So you used to that. We have a lot of fast guys there. I'm also fast. So we know that.
Also, with your streak of performance bonuses, do you feel like this is a matchup where that streak could continue?
For sure, man. That is one more. It's gonna be one more victory, one more knockout, one more performance, fifth in the row. Let's go.
Thank you.
Welcome. Feels like Conor McGregor now with this sunglasses. Thank you, guys.
Dustin, good to see you, man.
Thanks, buddy.
A few days away from this one, looking to get back on track. You got a pretty fun stylistic matchup. How you sort of viewing things a few days before the fight?
Yeah, I feel great, man. I've known about this fight for 15, 16 weeks. Vitor Petrino is a very tough up-and-coming kid, and it's going to be a great matchup. I think it'll be an exciting fight for the fans, and that's what I'm always in for.
You're in a kind of an interesting place in this division right now. You're coming off the loss to Dominic Reyes. I'm curious what you took away from that fight.
Yeah, I took away Dom. I mean, he just caught me, man. He's still really good. He's still very powerful, still really explosive. And it was one of those fights where I thought I was going to get him before he got me. And I just went in for the kill, and he got me with a perfect left hand that could knock out anybody in the division. So, I still believe that I'm one of the best, and I'm right up there in the division. I just got to get a couple big wins and put me right back in the mix.
You've been through so much in the combat sports world. You've seen the ups, the downs, the highs, and the lows. Do you even feel pressure at this point? Because I know you're coming off 2 losses, but since you've been there before, do you feel any additional pressure?
Like you said, man, I've been there before. I don't feel any pressure. I'm just going to go out there and compete, and perform. And like I said, I believe in myself. I've always believed in myself. I always prepare properly. I'm always prepared going in there. So I truly believe that I can get the job done.
I wanted to ask you about what happened on Saturday, because you and I have talked a lot about Anthony Smith and what he's done for your career and the conversations you guys have had, how much he has helped you. And obviously he competed on Saturday against Reyes with a pretty heavy heart, and obviously wasn't his night. And it's tough to do that. So what was your reaction to just seeing him go through and try to fight through that adversity and then the fight itself?
Yeah, it was tough to see, man. I felt really bad for him. Scott was a great guy, his coach. I did a lot of training with Scott. Anytime I went to Anthony's gym and worked with him, Scotty was always there. And I felt really bad for him, man. I was worried for him going in there just because I knew he was going to be pretty emotional. And then when I saw the walkout and I saw the tears, I didn't think he was in the best space in his mind. But, he's a warrior. He's a true combat veteran. He's a guy that's been through it to get to it, a guy that, been on the same path as me. He's fought, over 50 pro fights, and very tough guy. So I knew he's always game. He's always tough. Heck, the week before, man, he's still extremely big and still very good on the ground. I thought that he had a chance to get Dom on the ground, but Dom's had a little bit of a resurgence, and like I said, man, he's still one of the best in the division. I think he's going to have another quick rise to that title up here pretty quick.
And then last thing for me, there's a lot going on at 205 right now. You got Alex Pereira's champion. We just found out Jamal Hill's fighting Yuri Prochazka, and then right before UFC 310, we saw a video of Jamal Hill kind of going up on Alex, and things almost popped up there. Alex throws a set of boxing gloves at him, and things almost popped up. What did you think watching that video? Because everybody saw it, and everyone sort of has a different opinion about it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know why Jamal would go in there. If I'm him, I just don't go right up to him. You settle your differences in the octagon. He had his opportunity. He'll probably get another opportunity if he continues to do well. But Pereira, man, he's just again, another gamer, a guy is like, all right, you want to talk? Here you go. Here's the gloves. Let's go in here. And I think that's a dangerous move too, man. Pereira is obviously, one of the best to do it. One of the best strikers there's ever been in the UFC, and with amazing power. So, if that fight happens again, I could see Pereira doing the same thing, that, same outcome.
Over here to your right. Dustin, how do you recalibrate? You've been through this so many times, the highs, the lows. How do you recalibrate to head into a fresh camp?
Short-term memory and bulletproof confidence, man. That's what I always say. That's something. I played college football. I was a quarterback, and that's something we used in the quarterback room often. Short-term memory, bulletproof confidence. What's done is done. I always say you got to keep swinging. You got to keep going out there and putting yourself in a position to succeed. And that's what I do time and time again, man. And like I said earlier, I'm always prepared. And as long as I'm prepared, I expect to win.
How much different is the approach when you go from a Dominic Reyes, a guy that has a lot of high level experience, to a guy like Petrino, who's on the rise and still kind of learning?
Well, it's still a dangerous fight. He is up and comer. He's young, he's hungry. But I do feel that he is a little inexperienced. Look at the Anthony Smith fight. I thought he was doing really well on the feet, and then tried shooting in on a high-level black belt. I trained with Anthony. That guy on the ground is just a force to deal with, man. He makes you feel like you're in a wet blanket and just wrapped up. And it just showed the inexperience on Petrino a little bit. But with that being said, man, he's young, he's hungry. I know that I have to go out there and be on my best and perform my best to get the W.
Thank you.
Is there any pressure going into this fight, given your recent record? I know that you kind of try to have a mentality of like short memory, but I wonder if any of that kind of affects going into this fight.
It really doesn't, man, because like the only significant loss there, the only definite loss was the Reyes. That was the only dominant loss. I mean, you go back to the Asmat Mirzakhanov fight, the guy's undefeated. I had him rocked late in the second, dominated the third. I feel like another round, I beat that guy. He was done. The Alonzo Minifield fight, man, is just I kick myself in the ass over and over and over again for that. But that's just not my style. If I would have just coasted, I was winning that fight. I was dominating that fight. It's just not my style. If I would have coasted, I would have won that fight. Instead, I was being the aggressor and got caught with a big left hook and paid the price for it. Dominic Reyes obviously caught me, and it was his night that night. And I guess go all the way back to the Khalil Roundtree fight. I mean, you can say what you want. I still believe I won that fight. So it would be different if I was, getting dominated. And the way Dom beat me, that happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happened that night. It was his night, and he's a very, good opponent. So as far as that goes, no, man, I feel like I've been performing well, and a couple punches just didn't go my way, and I expect Saturday night to go my way.
As you mentioned, yeah, like a deceiving run. So as you mentioned, what are some of the things that you take and learn from that and that you're going to apply moving forward?
Yeah, I just got to be a little bit smarter, fight with a little bit higher IQ, maybe be a little more, I hate to say this, but not be so aggressive, not walk in and leave myself open so much. I've always been one that is willing to go toe to toe. I've done that in my kickboxing career, my MMA career, and it's got me in trouble a little bit here lately, but I just got to fight with a little more higher IQ.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
What up? What up?
Joaquin, it's been a busy year for you. I know you've always believed that you would end up in spots like this eventually, but if I told you at the beginning of the year you'd have 4 fights and then you'd headline the final show of 2024, would you believe me?
Yeah, not only would I believe you, but that's what I would tell you. That's what we planning on doing. So beforehand, you know, when I made that move to 170 this calendar year, not this calendar year, but going into this calendar year and fighting Vicente Luque, I know that I wanted to be the most active fighter in the welterweight division, and I wanted to get 4 in this year. Yep.
You've been able to show that this sport and even sort of like the perception of athletes in MMA, it can change so quickly because you have that big win and then you called out Conor McGregor and people didn't really love that. But then you fight Wonder Boy and you approached it a little bit differently. You have a tough fight, you finish him, and then you had a great post-fight interview. Everyone loved the call out of Kamaru Usman. And it seems like you got people that you might have lost back on your side. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I noticed that. Sometimes you just gotta listen to the fans, man. They know what they talking about. So I feel like, you know, yet again, I try to get a lot of people to tune in to watch my fights. So anything I gotta do to get the fans engaged and get them involved, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm glad the fans is on my side right now.
What was your reaction when you found out that Ian Machado Gary was out and that Colby Covington was stepping in?
I ain't gonna lie to you, like, I wanted that fight, you know. Of course, we was promoting Buck versus Cut, you know what I'm saying? And that was going to be one of the biggest things around. But, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, me and Kobe, you know, I think that's a big fight too. You know, somebody that has won, you know, the interim title, person that's fought for the title 3 times, even though he lost, you know, he got a big name. He has a big persona. He got, you know, big connections, you know, of course, like with the president. I don't even know if the president's going to be there, but if somebody like that is watching my fight, that's going to be a big deal. You know, it's historic. So with that being said, I feel like the Kobe fight is way bigger than the Ian Gary fight.
I saw a clip on social media earlier today of Colby saying he didn't even know who you were and that you were irrelevant and that you beat a couple.
Why you lying, Colby? Why you lying? So that's the funniest thing. We'd already met each other before, you know, and this would be our, I think, 3rd time meeting each other again if we get the face off. But, you know, I didn't already met this guy, and I feel like the dude that he portrays is obviously a character, and everybody knows it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a secret. Like, everybody knows, like, you know, he's trying to do like the WWE persona, you know, and I feel like it got him very far and got him exactly where he needs to be. But now it's kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's getting old and it has no value anymore. So I feel like right now is a great opportunity to kind of use this fight to kind of push my name and push my brand.
And then last thing for me, a win on Saturday put you in a pretty interesting spot because we just saw Ian fight Shavkat and it was a close competitive fight.
But but it was boring though, you know.
Not a fan of
it. Not at all. Because yet again, you got 2 undefeated guys. You got one that's a finisher and one that's a sniper. And I was expecting one of these guys to go out there and give it their all and kind of really, you know, not just remain undefeated, but take somebody's oath for real, you know. And that's by, you know, a good finish. And especially when you got that title on the line and you know that you could be next, or you know you are going to be next to fight for that title. Like, you got to go out there and perform like that. And neither one of them did. Yeah.
Joaquin, do you think this almost worked out for the best, right? Because let's say you fought Ian and then you beat him. There's a chance you never get to fight the guys like Colby Covington, who have sort of been at the top, but maybe not there anymore, right? But now is the perfect opportunity for you to beat someone with a name, take that name and go on forward with it. Do you think this is like the sort of worked out better for you in a way?
Yet again, like when I answered before, I think Colby Covington is a bigger fight than Ian Gary. Yeah.
How do you rate his skills, though? Obviously, personality and name-wise, we know he's a big deal. But his last fight against Leon, a lot of people weren't sort of impressed with his outing that night. What do you think of his skills and where is he at currently in his own career?
Right. Well, you know, that's up to him. You know, we can all judge off the last performance. He wasn't that good. You know, I feel like the best performance that I've seen from Colby Covington was against either RDA or Jorge Masvidal. Like, that was one of his prime conditions where he was just pushing the pace and just showing his dominant style. But yet again, you know, he said he took another year off to kind of get back to that person that he was. So I'm expecting the best version of Colby, but I feel like even the best version is no match for me.
You talked about how you've met him before and, you know, you sort of come up watching Colby and doing his shtick and everything like that. So in a way, is it almost like because you know the shtick and everything, there's nothing he can really say that can rattle you, right? He said what he said to Leon, which obviously got Leon fucking pissed off. But is there anything he can really say that can get under your skin? You know what you're dealing with here.
I mean, I'm not saying it's nothing that he can say. If he do his homework, like, he can bring up some things, right? But at the end of the day, I have met this person like in person, and he's not that same dude. So with that being said, it's just all noise. But the one thing that I know that is real is that, no matter what he talks about, he gotta live by that in the cage. So let's see if you're gonna stand on that once the cage doors close and we get to do what we do.
And what have you made of the Colby Covington persona? Like, he's, Ian Gary like doesn't like him at all, but like some people find him funny. Like, what do you make of him?
I mean, he doing whatever he needs to do in order to promote himself. But I feel like, yet again, you still got to be authentic with it. It's just like Conor McGregor. You see him and you see how, he pushes his brand and how he acts. But, that's still him. That's still Conor McGregor. It's just you turn up the volume for certain things. Alex Pereira, the authentic person that he is. And he don't even speak English, But people still love just the realness about him. So it's just like, just be yourself, and be able to turn up the volume on that.
A lot of people, I mean, most fans only know him from what they see on camera, but you've said you've met him, off camera and have had different experiences with him. How is he off camera?
A regular dude, bro. Like, that's the funniest thing. So when I trained out in Miami with MMA Masters, this was right before he had to fight with Kamaru Usman, But before I met him, I knew that he trained down there. I didn't know what to expect, because yet again, I only known him from all the stuff that he does on camera. But when I seen him, just a chill dude, just like, what's up, man? I'm like, how you doing, bro? And, just a basic guy. And, eventually I was like, hey, man, I can help you out with this Kamaru Usman fight. We should probably get some rounds in and get some training in. Oh, man, I would love that, man. That'd be cool. And the funny thing about it, it just never happened. Because he just didn't want to work. And the thing about Colby Covington, like, he kind of runs his own career, and he likes to work comfortable. And the thing about me is like, even though I kind of do the same thing, I don't like working comfortable. Like, I like working with new guys. I like working with guys that are hungry, and I like putting myself in a position where it's going to make me better. And that's why I feel like he lost those big fights, is because he was always training comfortable, and he wanted to train with, guys that was going to push him. And with that being said, it's funny how he was scared to just train with me, and now he's stepping in the cage with me. Yeah. And I feel like, for real, like, Colby's been quiet and he hasn't been saying anything because he know the truth. Like, I think he's really nervous to step in that cage with me later on.
And I wanted to ask you, Colby, didn't look so great in his last fight. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's probably past his prime. What do you think?
Yet again, that all depends on the person. Even if he was in his prime, I feel like it's just like, it's no match for me. Like, even if he's in the best shape of his life and, he goes out there and be the best Colby, I feel like the type of style that I bring is just, he going to be running into a brick wall.
And after his loss to Leon Edwards, he was calling for a rematch. He was calling for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It seemed like he wanted all kinds of things except fight like the young.
Right. He want to fight 145ers, man. He want to fight Patty Pimblett, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, guys that's not, welterweight fighters and stuff like that. So I feel like, in my opinion, this might be his last fight on his contract. I'm just assuming that, if you want to fight and it's going to be your last one, you want to, go off on top, right? And I really feel like, with that being said, he had no choice but to take this fight because it's his last one.
So I was gonna ask you, like, are you surprised that he took it? Because a lot of people, when they saw Colby Covington names pop up, be like, short notice, Joaquin Buckley, like, seriously?
I really feel like he had no choice, it's either fight or leave, retire, you know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Yeah. Lastly, Shafkat Bilal, who do you think wins out?
I'm going with Bilal on this one. And funny enough, not only am I going with Bilal, I think Bilal could get a finish in this one, via submission.
Joaquin, I just want to go back to kind of one of the original questions. What were you specifically not impressed with Ian Gary in the Shafkat fight?
I mean, yet again, they didn't let it go. Like these are the type of guys that had the ability to finish one another, and they pretty much chose not to, right? You see Ian Gary, damn near trapping himself in I think he had like a body triangle on Shafkat. You can't do anything in that position. You gotta, buckle. You gotta move to a hip. You gotta get to your feet and get the fight where it belongs. With Shafkat, that he's a finisher, right? But it looks like he was trying to grapple the whole time and just clinch up against the cage. So neither one of the guys kind of let it go, and I feel like it kind of disappointed the fans because they really wanted to see something special that night.
And then going back to like the fans' opinion of fighters, like, how much do you really have to take that into account, right? Because you saw kind of two things that night. Like, people kind of switched on Brian Battle. He went out in France, he had that thing on the microphone, everybody loved him, and then he missed weight and he arguably gets a split decision against Randy Brown. Everybody doesn't like Brian Battle right now. And then with Ian Gary, the fans were like,
Right. The switch up.
yeah,
you
it
know?
switched up on.
I mean, for real, you know, you shouldn't worry about the switch up. But with Brian Battles, it's kind of stupid because I think people could have still been on his side. You know, I don't know why you know, flicking off, you know, in Vegas. You did miss weight, you know, like as a professional, you know, and this ain't the first time he missed weight either, right? I remember back in the day that we was going to try to set something up for Boston. And I told him, one thing I need you to do is just make the weight. Because at the end of the day, that's what it takes, you know, in order to step into the cage with somebody that also put that same work ethic in with you. You know, y'all both made the same sacrifices, so y'all both get the reward where we get to fight one another. You know, I feel like you shouldn't be able to step in that cage if you're not able to make weight. But with that being said, it's just like, bro, you know, take your L with the fans, you know, just because they booed you and stuff like that. And plus, it wasn't like a crazy performance from Battles anyway. You know, that was the first time I seen my man turn into a wrestler. So it's just like, at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, listen to the fans, you know, and when you listen to the fans, bro, you know, they'll turn around and yeah, they got your back.
And then you got a chance to tie a buddy of yours, Charles Johnson with 4 wins.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Did you see Pantoja in the post fights? They brought up Charles Johnson, and he kind of went, "Who?" I don't know if he.
Oh no, I missed that.
So they asked him about Charles Johnson, and he said, "Who?" I think he was pretending to not know him.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't know that, but you know, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, the UFC already tried to find somebody outside the organization, so now it's time to find somebody that's in the organization. And obviously, they had a couple people, you know, that failed, you know, that could have fought Pantoja, but end up losing to, you know, two big names, like, you know, Torsuro and what's the name, Amir Abazi. You know, they both had their opportunities, but they both lost. So I feel like now you got to go searching within the, you know, rankings and just pull up a guy and give him a shot. And Charles Johnson should be that guy.
Just a quick one here. This is obviously a big fight in the division. So we know that Shafkat's next for Bilal, but do you feel like you went here and your next fight is the one?
Man, I feel like I'm leapfrogging over Shafkat. You
Really?
know, yeah. And I feel like he injury prone too. Like I feel like he always getting injured. Some always wrong with him. So he might not even show up to the fight, and it might just be me and Bilal next year. You know, but yet again, the performance got to speak first. You know, yet again, I can't just go out there and just get my hand raised by, you know, a split decision. Then I don't want it. But if I go out there and do what I know I can do, you know what I'm saying, get a good knockout of the year, yeah, bro, I'm taking my belt.
Yeah. So what does that look like? Like putting him away, devastating fashion, and getting on the mic.
That's all I know. Yep. And then plus getting on that mic, man, and talking my shit. Yep.
Nice. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
What up? What up, guys? Let you guys finish your food. Is that good? Not cutting weight or anything. Don't worry.
Well,
I'm just messing with you.
Sorry about that. But welcome back, sir. I know how excited you are to fight a guy like Cub Swanson on Saturday. When you got offered that fight and you heard that name, what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, so I was in my living room and my manager Matt Arroyo called me, and at first he's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, like I'm ready." He's like, UFC Tampa, and right away I was like, "Let's go!" And he's like, "Cub Swanson," and I was like, "Oh my!" I couldn't believe it. And my wife later described it to someone as the happiest she's ever seen me. And I'm obviously married with 2 kids, so I guess that was one of the bigger moments of, that's the happiest I've been apparently, but not really, obviously. But yeah, I was super excited. Cub's a legend of the sport. I remember watching him before I even started training martial arts. I was at a party watching him in the WEC, and I wasn't even training MMA. So he's been there, done that. And it's exciting to fight him. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and get my hand raised.
You thought this is a co-main event worthy fight from Jump Street. And no matter how you got there, you got there. So, and you get to do it in Tampa, which I know is very exciting for you. What does this mean to you knowing that you are now the co-main event?
It's cool, man. And for me, it's a little bit of redemption. The last time I was a co-main event was the Barbosa fight, which didn't go my way. But yeah, when it first got announced, I was like, oh man, it's definitely gonna be on the, I was hoping, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be on the main card, I think. And then a few fights got pushed and dropped out or whatever. And then now here we are at the co-main event. So if anything happens to Buckley or Covington, we're just gonna keep moving up to the main event. But no, it didn't even have to be the co-main event. It's just, really cool that it is going to be. It's going to be later, which I'm kind of getting acclimated to staying up late. I'm not 25 partying every night anymore. So I'm just super excited for the whole situation.
Since the Kyle Nelson fight in 2020, you've flip-flopped wins and losses, and then you're coming off the fight with Yusuf Zalal, who has looked incredible since returning. Do you feel like the numbers and the MMA math is on your side here on Saturday?
Yeah, man. I gotta get back to that winning streak that I was on. When I got into the UFC, I was on a great run, and we've gone back and forth. Which I don't know if it's like some mental thing that I got to overcome, but no matter what, I go out there to try to win every fight, and Saturday night's not going to be any different.
You said your wife described just getting the news of fighting Cub Swanson as the happiest she's ever seen you outside of the usual stuff. But what will your reaction be? What will she see with a win over Cub Swanson?
Honestly, it's expected for me, man. I trained so hard for this training camp. I did everything right. All these extra strength and conditioning sessions that I didn't want to do, all these cold plunges and hyperbaric chambers and sauna sessions, all the extra mitt work and sled work. So, I try not to get too excited when I win or, too depressed when I lose. So it'll be, just like a good finale for this training camp that was super long.
And then last thing, I wanted to just get your take on this because the champion of your division, Ilya Topuria, is saying now he wants to go up to 155. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't really have too many thoughts on it. I do know that, pretty much every fight week when we're cutting weight, I'm like, man, I should just move up in a weight class. And then you go against real good size 155ers and they're a lot bigger. And I know he had the one fight with, I think Jai Herbert, where it looked like, it was a more competitive fight than he probably would have liked. So I think it's going to be tough. It's tougher than you think because some of those 155ers are pretty big.
He's called out Charles Oliveira, and obviously he's shown interest in fighting Islam Makhachev. You're saying like you wouldn't favor him in those fights?
I don't know, man. I think if he does it right, and if he has a good strength and conditioning program and puts a little bit of size on, he's a stud, man. He's a very good fighter. So against Charles Oliveira might be a pretty good matchup. Islam, that might be tough. But again, Volkanovski looked very good against Islam the first time they fought. So I mean, he's got the championship mindset. So I think, no matter what he does, I think he'll be competitive with anyone.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot of turmoil in the division. Maybe years past with Volkanovski's dominance, there seems to be a clear path. But like right now, the way how you look at the division, like how do you feel about it? Do you like this sort of turmoil and sort of chaos that's going on?
Yeah, man. I've always said this. You know, obviously I'm probably a little biased, but I think the 145 division is the most exciting division. I think like either the featherweight or lightweight or even bantamweight has, you know, those are the ones that I obviously watch and pay the most attention to. I think it's exciting, man. I think we've had some great champions with Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Arnold Allen's right up there. Giga and all those guys. We have a very exciting division. Cub's a legend of the sport. I got to get past him, and then I can focus on those guys that are, you know, in the top 15.
Yeah. And one more regarding your actual fight. You're fighting Cub Swanson. You said like you're super excited to fight him, and you're super happy to get the matchup. Is this the coolest fight you've ever had in your career? In considering you fought guys like Edson Barbosa and some other well-known guys.
Yeah, I would put it right up there with the Edson Barbosa fight. Was definitely like, I was like, holy crap, you know, like just highlight reel on highlight reel. The Shane Burgos fight, because it was at Madison Square Garden, that was, you know, a special one for me, and I'd like to get that one back. You know, I'd like to go back to MSG because I'm training with Shane now. Definitely go back to MSG and fight. But yeah, it's definitely up there, and unfortunately, I've had a lot of big moments that I came up short on. And so this would, you know, going out there and getting a win, this would definitely be the best moment of my MMA career.
Do you have any favorite moment of Cub Swanson, being a fan of him?
Man, the Doi Ho Choi fight, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but that was definitely a crazy, exciting fight. It would probably be that one. Just being in a war like that, that literally put him in the Hall of Fame. That's the type of fight that I want to bring on Saturday. And I know we're both capable of it. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
By the way, did you see the Doo Ho Choi call out of Bryce Mitchell?
Yeah, I saw that. It was like,
about it?
I think that's a good fight, man, especially they were just on the same card. I think he had like the flat earth thing.
Yeah, he posted a picture of the earth.
Yeah, and I saw Bryce said it was CGI, which you know, they're both exciting fighters. He looked really good against Nate Landwehr. So I think that'd be a great fight. Bryce is always game and, you know, always says interesting things on the microphone, which I'm a fan of that. So I think that's a good fight.
Thank you.
Thanks, when you moved to your
hey, what's up, Kevin?
Oh, good. When you moved here from New York, what, 15-ish years
2010.
ago? You know, if I said, okay, you're going to be a co-main event at Amalie Arena, like what would that Billy Quarantillo have said?
Yeah. Oh man, it was something that I was, you know, kind of dreaming of, but I knew I had so many obstacles in the meantime. When I first moved here in 2010, I was an 0-1 amateur fighter, and I would like literally run around Amalie. I would go to the Sabres Lightning games, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to fight here one day. But that was deep in the back of my head. It was almost like a joke. And sure enough, man, the universe has a funny way of showing you that like what is possible. And so it's just, I've said it all week long. I'm grateful to be here, and it is really a dream come true.
And you walked out of the tunnel at Madison Square Garden and some big arenas. Is it going to hit a little different Saturday at Amalie when you do make that walk?
Yeah, the walk is always something special for me because again, like it took me, you know, over 10 years just to get to the UFC, which is like a long time goal. So every walkout, except at the Apex doesn't really feel that same energy. But yeah, it's going to be special for me walking out. But then once I get in the cage, and I'm sure Cubs walk in second, I'll move around a little bit and I'll get ready to throw down. And that's what I do best.
And you've had some big moments away from the octagon, just family-wise, business-wise in the last year and a half. Just where is your headspace now that you had a lot of balls in the air there, and now you can just focus on this fight, you know, in your hometown?
Yeah, I'm just this, you know, the last training camp against Zalal when, you know, he actually took the fight on shorter notice. I kind of had an opponent change and didn't do what I had to do to make that adjustment with the opponent switch. And again, I had a lot of distractions earlier in the year. At the time, my wife was like 8.5 months pregnant. I was going through a lot of, you know, mental stuff. And this training camp, I made sure I'm like, listen, I got a lot of stuff going on. I you know, dished off some of the stuff at work, at PAC, at my gym. And so I just focused on this fight, man. Like I said, I was doing a lot of extra stuff, the extra strength and conditioning, the extra recovery session, making sure my body is right where it needs to be to perform at a peak on Saturday night.
And last one for me, a lot of people in combat sports don't make it to their mid-30s, you know, in a career and after a loss or whatever. Just what mentally and physically have you had to do right for more than a decade to get to where you are now?
Yeah, well, I always say I got into this sport late. I didn't really start training martial arts until I was 19. You know, my first amateur fight, I was 21 years old already. So I always had that chip on my shoulder that the odds of me making it to the UFC were already slim. So I've always done everything I could do to get there. In these last few years, I really focused on my nutrition, focused on the recovery sessions. I bought my own sauna and cold plunge at my house. So my neighbors think I'm crazy. I have that in my backyard. I got a bunch of kids' toys and a sauna and a cold plunge. Just making sure I do everything right, make sure I keep my body healthy. Because you're absolutely right. Cub's 41 years old. I just turned 36 on Sunday. So I know I got a handful of fights left, and I'm planning on making these last few fights my best fights, of my career.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Billy, right here.
What up, Sean?
What's up, bro? How's the conversations been with Matt Frivola? Because I know that's your boy, right? And he's kind of gone through a rough 2 losses, and you guys are always there to support each other. So like, how's it been on your end, just kind of being there for your boy?
Yeah, it's luckily we both have been there and done that, taking big losses, to had huge wins and big losses. Luckily he's a new father, and he's kind of focused on that right now. He will be at the fight on Saturday, so I look forward to. I'll see him before the fight. We're gonna go out to dinner and everything. It's been tough, man. It's a brutal sport. Saturday night could be the best, one of the best nights of my life, or it could just be really disappointing, especially in my hometown. And we know what we signed up for. So he took it on the chin. He's been in this position before. Luckily, he still has fights on his contract. So I'm just hoping he can go out there and get a huge win in his next one and kind of, just make him feel better.
And then what did you think about the Aljamain Sterling and Mobzar fight? Because like from a fan perspective, it was great to watch. But Aljo kind of said afterward, he's like, man, I don't really know if I want to go and try to climb the ladder again and things like that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I know Matt was probably thinking the same thing after his fight. And I think I've definitely felt that too after the Barbosa fight. Like the day or two after, you're like, man, what am I even doing this for? Why am I putting myself out there? Especially now that you're in the UFC and you have people DMing you about their parlays and how much you suck and this kind of stuff. It adds to it. But then you brush yourself off, and you know what you're capable of. You'll watch another fight. Man, I want that feeling again. It's an addicting feeling. To answer your question, I thought that fight was incredible. I thought those grappling exchanges were the highest of levels, and I think it came down to that third round. And Aljamain lost a position towards the end. I think it cost him the fight. I think by now he's probably ready, and he realized he didn't lose a spot in the rankings. He's right in the mix, and he can do really well against most of the featherweights. So I think he'll be back, I'm sure. And we'll see Matty Boy back as well.
I got to ask, now that you mentioned it, like what's the worst DM that you've gotten as far as like people, my parlay and this and that, right? Do you have a specific one you can remember?
Yeah, I got a funny one. It's not like probably the worst one. So I after the Gavin Tucker fight was like the first time I was like, holy crap, like, man, these people are not happy about this. But it was a funny one. It wasn't like really funny, but it was from The Ultimate Fighter. It was years and years and years ago. Me and my wife, and that's one reason, like, I don't like to like tag my wife and stuff, because people like they started reaching out. First they were talking smack to me, and then they were saying stuff to my wife, just like kind of like your husband, your boyfriend sucks or whatever. And this is before we had kids, so our dog was like our main squeeze, and they messaged her that your dog is ugly, and that was it for her. She like freaked out about it. I'm like, listen, they don't mean that. They're just trying to get under your skin. And like they said, like, your dog is ugly. And that was like, I was like, what? They were from like a different country. And that was one that always stuck out to me. And ever since that point, I try not to like put her out in the spotlight too much, because MMA, just fans in general, especially ones that bet, could be absolutely ruthless. And it doesn't bother me at all anymore. Like, I get it. But to like go after like animals and stuff, it's just weird. But that was one that has always stuck out to me, because it was the first time I was in that limelight. So it was the first one that I was like, wow, that I didn't expect that.
Billy, one to your right.
Hey, what's up, brother?
How you doing? About the fight, when you step in there with Cub, we know that he has his style, very famous for his style. What are some of the keys for you to be successful against him?
Yeah, just go out there and fight my fight. Not worry about his style as much. Just focus on my game plan. We had a lot of guys that were doing a really good job moving around how he moves, hands down, darting in, very aggressive striker. So the biggest thing is just get my timing down, do what I've been practicing these last, couple months in training camp. and just do whatever it takes to, outdog him and go out there and, make it a war like the people want to see and get my hand raised.
And it's been mentioned it's a huge night for you fighting here at home, and you've had some low moments and some big opportunities. So is there a different kind of approach you take to coming into this one?
I think the approach has already kind of been done. The training camp was a lot different than the last time. Just being here is pretty cool. I got to sleep in my own bed last night. I have a knockout win against someone like right next here at the convention center. That's pretty cool. I'm very comfortable in this area, and the hard work is done. I'm just making sure I do everything right these next couple of days with the weight cut, and go out there and try to have some fun on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. All right. Thank you, guys.
Cub, another fight week. How are you feeling, man?
I feel really good. I'm excited. Pretty calm. Yeah, feels like I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, how much has sort of the fight week feel changed throughout your career? I mean, you've done so many of them. What point are you in, and can you compare it to other previous times where it felt completely different?
Yeah, before it was always so stressful, trying to get everything done, trying to do everything so perfect. Just the nerves of the fight. It felt like it would take forever. Just those, 4 days leading up to it. It's like, felt like forever. But now, with the team I have around me, they're all just my friends, good people. And it's just kind of taking it easy, trusting the process and getting it done.
Yeah, and you are co-main eventing. Did you feel like at this stage in your career, being in your 40s, you were going to be co-main eventing a UFC event?
It's funny because I never really put too much thought into it. I always would get a little bit upset that I'm never like notified that I would be co-main event, because if for whatever reason the main event falls through, there's the chance that they'd say, "Hey, Cub, can this be 5 rounds?" And it's like that is a completely different training camp. And just the thought of doing 5 rounds is always a little like, oh man, it's a whole other beast. So I always feel like it'd be nice to be notified that you're the co-main event just in that situation. But I'm just happy to fight wherever I am on the card. I know guys get mad about it, but at this stage of my career, I'm just happy to fight. Whether I'm the first fight of the night, co-main, main, doesn't matter to me.
And your opponent, Billy, was here not that long ago, and he was saying he was a fan of you before he even started fighting. So you're already at a point in your career where, that kind of becomes more often. How do you feel about it? Are you like proud? Does it make you feel old? How do you feel about it?
I kind of expect it, because I think I have a fan friendly fighting style. It makes me proud. And yeah, I got no problem with it. I know he just had a birthday, and so I'm excited to welcome him into the Masters division. He's one of the old guys like myself, so he's been around for a little while. So yeah, I'm happy to welcome into the Masters division.
Yeah. And at this point, what's sort of the motivation to keep going? Is it the fact that you're healthy and you just want to do this as much as you can because, at some point you won't be able to, or do you still have goals, records? We see Jim Miller out there, has certain records that he wants to maintain and keep. What's your motivation in the sport at this point?
Just enjoying it. I'd say my main motivation at this point is I have Bloodline, the management company, and I have a whole crew of guys that I mentor and that I really try to show them everything, what to do, what not to do, helping them with training, their mental game. And, it's one thing for a coach to say, do this, do that. It's another thing to show them, so the last couple of weeks when we're doing conditioning drills and I'm beating everybody, they're a bunch of 20-year-olds that are in tip-top shape and I'm winning. They know that I practice what I preach. And so it's not just me talking, I'm showing them the way. And to me, that means a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And how close would you say retirement is? Have you begun to thought about that, or is that something you don't want to think about until the time comes? What does that mean to you? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I'm close. I'm just, like I said, I'm just having fun. And, I'm still competing with 20-year-olds. I'd say the 45-pound room in my gym is pretty incredible. And it keeps me feeling young, just being in the room every day with these guys. And, having young kids motivates me to stay in shape and want to be youthful. And, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited that most of my career has been so stressful, for fighters. The stress that is on us is crazy. And for me to be at this point in my career, it's like I'm just enjoying it. And I'm like, this is fun.
Thank you.
Come over here. What a year 2024 has been, because you and Joaquin Buckley were having back and forths on Twitter, and now you're the main and co-main event on the same card to end the year. Kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I figured I'd be asked this, but I stand by what I said. I don't think the younger guys should be disrespecting the older guys, and it's just what I think. And I think that the people that paved the way should always deserve some respect.
Have you ran into him at all?
No,
Been
but I'm sure I will, and I'm not gonna back down from what I said. I was a fan of his until he opened his mouth a little bit, and I got no ill will towards him. I just, like I said, I think people need to show respect.
Is there anything he can do to get back in your good graces?
I mean, I think just an apology for calling me a hoe, because that's one thing I'm not. I've stayed true to myself. I stayed true to who I am. This is my entire career. So the name calling was just a little over the line, but I was a fan of his until that moment.
On a different note, you said you don't really care about the placement on the fight card, but second straight fight outside of the Apex and in front of big crowds. Does that mean something to you right now?
Yeah. It's more for me. I felt like I really enjoyed fighting at the Apex for a period of time, because I just was so sick of having to cater to people, the fans, the close, people that have been around asking for tickets and all that stuff. And I just got to focus on just fighting for a little while. So that was nice. And then on the last one, hearing the crowd was like, oh man, it's been a while since I really felt this and heard this. And it was nice. And it was motivating to want to do another fight in front of a crowd.
Last thing, wanted to ask you about a couple of your past opponents who just competed this past Saturday. Doo-Ho Choi, your co-Hall of Fame fight opponent, goes in there, has a great performance against Nate Landwehr. And then on the other end, you had Crone Gracie, who you had a terrific battle with, and he had a tough night with Bryce Mitchell and got knocked out. What did you think of the performances of those two, especially after having fought both of them?
Well, obviously with Crone, he hasn't looked as good, and what people don't understand is confidence is such a huge thing in this sport. And you look at boxing, and guys, they can have 20-30 fights and be undefeated, and they hadn't really. You get progressively tougher opponents, and you have all this confidence before you go into big fights. And in the UFC, you fight the best of the best, and it's hard to get a winning streak together. And when you start to go on your first losing streak, it's very hard for people to deal with. A lot of people never come back after the first couple losses, and that's always wild to me. But yeah, confidence is huge, and I think Crone he needs some confidence, and I think he needs good people around him. As far as Doo-Ho Choi, exactly the opposite. He was a shell of himself. He was almost undefeated. He had a couple losses early in his career. When I fought him, nobody had been able to test him. He had a lot of confidence, and then I feel like I kind of broke that. And then he struggled for a long time. So when he got his first win on his last fight, I was like, man, I was so happy for him. And then he looked so good. And Nate is not a slouch, and he looks so good. So I was telling my wife, I go, look, it's crazy how much confidence plays a role in this. And I was proud of him.
Cub, here to your right. 5 years ago, I believe you're the only one back-to-back cards here in Tampa for the UFC. So bringing up Crone, how do you reflect on where you were 5 years ago and being here again?
Tampa's been good to me. Toronto has been has been the only place that I've done better at than Tampa. Tampa's been good. I'm undefeated here, and I've had good fights. So when I heard it was Tampa, I was like, okay, I'd like to go back there. I've always had a good time. So I'm excited to be here.
And everything that you have your hands full with your Bloodline MMA, we saw was a very busy, successful week for you guys at LFA 198. What was the balance like for this camp, having their camps and your fight right after it?
Yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, I call it championship mentality. And that's what can I put on my shoulders and keep moving forward. You know, when I was a young fighter, I couldn't handle anything but the sport, you know, the pressure of the sport and being the best I can be. And then, you know, becoming a father and having kids and having to be able to have all those duties and still be able to perform was difficult. And now having kids and then having a whole nother set of kids, in a sense, is another responsibility. But I was ready for that at this point in my career, at my age, what I feel like I can carry. Yeah, it's no problem for me. And I'll be honest, fighting is not my first priority. You know, it just can't be right now. But I'm still really good, and I love to do it, and I'll be doing it for a little bit longer.
Thank you, sir.
Cub right here, brother. One of your brightest guys, Danny Silva, 2-0 in the UFC. I think he's got another one coming up. I think March of next year, possibly. How far is he going to go in the UFC? Because he looks like one of those stud freshmen that's coming in, right?
He's a guy that I believe could be champion. You know, he has all the tools. With him, it's been a matter of belief, which he does now, which is always it's crazy to watch somebody that's so talented, and you just gotta encourage them and let people, you know, find their path. And if he stays motivated and does all the things, because it's a long path to the top, if he can do all those things, I believe he could be champion.
And then when you talk about belief, another guy, Dan Argueta, he's going through a little bit of things right now. What do you say to a guy like that to encourage him to keep going and like, hey man, don't hang your head on what's going on right now type thing?
Yeah, me and Dan Argueta have had a lot of talks. The crazy thing about Dan is he's such a competitor, and he will work harder than anybody. And to fall short, having sacrificed so much, has been pretty tough for him. But he's such a well-rounded person, and people love talking to him. People love his personality. I was like, don't beat yourself up, because a lot of these guys, they can only fight. You know, there's guys that, hey man, your best bet is fighting, and that's how you're going to be successful. If anything, Dan, I feel like he could do any job. Like, you don't need fighting. Like, you're good at it, but you don't need it, you know, because he's just a well-rounded person. So for me, mentoring these guys, I want to give them my honest advice and make sure that they're taken care of long term. That's my main thing, is I want to make sure that these guys, you know, have families and retire, and I'm proud of who the humans they become, not just about their fighting careers.
How do some of them take that? Because I mean, like you said, some guys, their only focus in life has been fighting, and they've put the blinders on. They know nothing else other than fighting. So when you have that conversation, you're like, hey man, I'm not being disrespectful here. I'm just telling you that, man, you could do whatever you want in this life. Do some of them take it differently than others?
Well, of course, you know, but would I be a friend if I didn't tell them my honest opinion? You know, there's too many people in this sport that are giving bad advice because of their own interests. And I don't think that's right. And I'm always going to be a fighter first. That's why these guys appreciate me, because I'll give them my honest opinion, and I'll take responsibility if I'm making mistakes. You know, something I learned with my old manager. He used to let me have it after fights sometimes and tell me things that he thought I was doing wrong. And then I'd say, okay. And then I'd come back and say, well, I don't think you're doing this right. And I'd fire back, and I'd say, hey, well, if you're going to say things to me, I should be able to say things back to you. This is a relationship. It's not a dictatorship. And that's why one of the reasons why I'm really liking the coaching thing is I'm so sick of coaches telling fighters to do this and do that because I say so. And it's like, explain why. Validate yourself. Explain why. You know, these fighters are they're smarter than you give them credit for, and you gotta make sure these fighters understand why they're doing things so they can become better athletes.
Actually kind of got one more going off of that. There was a boxing fight a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw the clip, but the guy was in his corner, and I think it was the third round of the fight. He looked at his cornerman and he said, "Man, I don't want to be here anymore." Like, have you ever had any situations like that with guys in the gym being like, "Coach, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I want to be doing this anymore." Like, what would your advice be if you were in that scenario?
Well, it's tough mid-fight. That's a really tough one, because if their performance isn't great and they're saying that, then it's probably best to call it for overall health, reasons. But if they're saying that and they're actually doing good, sometimes it's just a little switch. You got to talk them into it. But that happens in careers. Guys do that. That's what I always say in this. Like, people don't understand, when you have a 20-year career, your motivations go up and down. And there's like fights you look back and go, man, maybe I shouldn't have taken that fight. Maybe I wasn't mentally ready, and I can honestly say at least one fight I have that I probably shouldn't have fought. But for the most part, you got to find your motivation. And if it's not there, then you need to take some time off and reevaluate. It happens. Cool. Thanks, guys.
gonna start this off. You know, since I'm the man of the hour, the man of the show. I want to ask LeBron, what does he mean by "there's no party like a Diddy party"? I truly want to know. And not only that, LeBron, how many Diddy parties have you actually been to? I'm really curious to know. And is that the reason you left social media? Because all the backlash you were getting for going to so many Diddy parties? It's just pathetic, man. People think this guy's a role model. He wants to defund the police, the most patriot people of America, serving and protecting our country. LeBron, you're a fucking scumbag, and I hope you get locked up in the same cell with Diddy.
Well, Colby, nice to see you again. A bit of a historical moment for me. I've never seen someone streaming Media Day on Colby Chaos TV at the same time as we're asking you questions. So that's a bit of a history for you there. Talk to us about this fight, how it got made, what made you accept a fight with Buckley, and the journey on how you got here.
Yeah, so I called the UFC when Bilal had a pager on his foot and he backed out because I guess the pager exploded on his ankle and messed up his toe, which is just weird. You guys need to ask Bilal, why is he wearing pagers around his ankle? It's just weird. But so he pulled out of the fight. So I called the UFC and volunteered. I wanted to fight Shavkat. That was the fight I wanted. You know, I think he's all hype. He hasn't fought anybody of my level, an elite fighter in a 5-round fight. So I was excited to fight Shavkat. But the UFC had already had other plans that said, hey, we're going to do the other fight with the cuck, Ian Gary. So, you know, they wanted to do that fight. But they're like, hey, but we need to fill this main event with Joaquin Buckley at Tampa. You know, he's not a star. He's a bum. He's a nobody. So we need someone to sell this show. Can you be a company man? Come do it. I said, absolutely, Hunter Campbell. Whatever you need, man. I'm a company man. I love this company. God bless the UFC. God bless America. But what a great opportunity to fight my home state and defend home turf in Tampa, Florida, you know, 3 hours up the road from where I live in Miami, Florida. So, you know, it's just a beautiful opportunity. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, UFC.
Joaquin says that you guys have met before, and there was a time actually before your fight with Usman, the first fight, that he asked to train with you, and you sort of the rounds never came to fruition. So he says you actually have a somewhat of a relationship from back then. Do you remember those days when you were training together?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I offered him to train. He'd come train in strength and conditioning class with me. I'm like, hey, come jump in conditioning class with me, man. I got no issues with you. You know, he wasn't in the same division at the time. He was at 185. So, you know, I told him, hey, come on up, you know, do some conditioning. And, you know, I have no problem or beef against the guy. So, yeah, we train together. Nothing wrong with that.
Feels like a rare occurrence for you these days, not having beef with the guy you're about to fight. It must be quite refreshing for you.
Yeah. You know, he's a young up and coming hungry guy. He hasn't been on my radar. I never expected to cross paths with this guy. You know, I expect to cross fights with the biggest and best names in the sport. You know, the world champions, the big guys, not up and coming hungry guys like him, younger guys. So, you know, it is refreshing. You know, I have no ill will towards him, but Saturday night, you know, I'm definitely gonna have to take his win streak.
For you then, is this the perfect opportunity to remind everyone that actually you're still one of the best in this weight class, and this guy is a hungry, rising talent that you can prove like, hey, he's good, but he's still not as good as I am at this level?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, people have been trying to trash my name for too long when I fought the best fighters in the world for, you know, 8-10 years straight. So this is my opportunity to come out, beat a young, hungry, up and coming comer that's on a long 5-fight win streak and, you know, has a lot of hype behind his name and, you know, explosive hands. So it's an opportunity to bring him to the deep waters in the main event spotlight and show the world that I'm still the best welterweight on planet Earth.
You did mention them before. Ian and Shavkat did fight last week. I'd be curious to get your take on how they both performed. And, you know, Ian wasn't very nice about you in the lead up to that fight. Said you never fight him, etc. I wondered if you have any response for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a cuck. He sits in the corner while his wife gets dogged out by the nutritionist. Isn't that just weird? Like, I don't know why more people don't, you know, talk about that. It's just disgusting that he brings the last name of your wife's ex-husband. It's just fucking strange. And, you know, my thing is, hey, he does nothing for my career. What does he do for me? He's an absolute nobody who's beaten nobody. So I told him, hey, if you want this fight, just answer the 3 stipulations. Turn on your comments. Your wife wants to be so famous so bad. She's quoting Shakespeare, which is just weird in itself. And we know how much weird shit goes on in Shakespeare about fucking cousins, fucking family, all the weird shit they do. But hey, you want to be famous, make a video begging for the fight. And then if you really think you're going to beat me, Ian, agree that if you lose the fight, your wife has to be in my video for BC Game, and we do an America's Pick of the Week for the people. he couldn't, he couldn't answer and he couldn't meet the stipulations. So there's no reason for me to fight him. He's a bum. I mean, the fight's never been offered, but I can tell you one thing. I have the power to make fights happen. I can go to Hunter Campbell. I can go to Dana White and be like, hey, Dana, hey, Hunter, I want this fight. This is the fight I want. This is the fight that makes sense. This is what the people want. But he couldn't make those 3 stipulations happen. So I don't have time for him. He's irrelevant. He's a nothing. He does nothing for my career. Beating him will do nothing. So, here we are against Joaquin Buckley, and Saturday night's going to be explosive.
You don't think at one point you'll fight Ian Gary?
If he meets those stipulations, all he has to do is turn his comments on. Like, why is he so sensitive with the fans? All he has to do is have his wife make a video. She loves making videos. She's making videos to Sean Strickland, trying to quote Shakespeare like she's so smart and this and that. She loves to put herself in the limelight and act like she's a part of the business. So, and then if he's so confident, let's put a risk on the table. If you lose, she's got to do a video with me for my new sponsor, BC Game. Otherwise, I don't have time. It's just a waste of my time. He's a fucking cuck. I don't want to fucking go with a cuck. Who knows where his hands and his fucking whole body, what type of fluids are on him and shit. Like, it's just disgusting.
And on the other side of that, what'd you think of Shafkat, like, as far as his performance? And now looks like he's going to fight Bilal Muhammad. So what did you think of his performance, and what chances do you give him against Bilal?
I didn't watch the fight. I was too busy, doing some other things, doing some streaming on my new Twitch for BC Game. Shout out to all my fans out there on Twitch that were live streaming, watching me right now. Got a lot of love for them. I got bigger things to do than watch these up and coming nobodies that haven't accomplished anything in this sport. They have no merit. They haven't been in title fights like me. They haven't won world titles like I have. So, I heard it was boring. I heard his stock went down, and he got exposed. He was all hype. He's got all finishes against all nobodies. He beat the busboy from Outback, the Outback Steakhouse that serves bloomin' onions. Like, how prestigious is that? So, that's why I volunteered to fight him. I volunteered to fight him on 3 weeks' notice. I called Hunter. I wanted that fight, but instead, I got pushed into this fight. Not pushed into it. I'm happy to come and save the day for the company. I love this company. I'm a company man. Love the UFC. It's such an honor to fight here. And, this is the true excitement in my life when I get to come fight for the UFC.
And what do you think is at stake in this fight against Buckley? He says that he's going to go out there and pull off a knockout of the year, finish you, and then leapfrog Shafkat. Do you feel like sort of the same thing is for you? Like, if you do something spectacular on Saturday, maybe we're talking about you in a title contention?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's always in title contention. I'm the biggest name in the sport. There's no stars in this division. It's a bunch of bums, a bunch of fucking guys that have about as much charisma as the wet mop in the corner. So, I'm the superstar in this division. I call the shots. I am the champion. Everybody knows I'm the king of Miami. So I think after Saturday night, when I convincingly beat Buckley, I'm next in line for the title.
Buckley says that he thinks that you took this fight because it's the last fight on your contract, and it just kind of worked out that way. What's, I guess, your standing with the UFC as of now?
Yeah, that's fake news. Before my last fight, I signed a new 5-6 fight contract. I'm a lifetime UFC fighter. I'm not going anywhere, and I never will. Even if it was the last fight, I would never leave. Like, I'm staying here in the UFC. I love the UFC. They've done such good business for me. They brought a kid from a small town in Oregon that had nothing, a blue collar family, a suburb area where I came from, into a multi-million-dollar athlete. So, I'm super thankful to the UFC, grateful, and I'll be here forever. I'm not ever going to entertain another organization or going and doing these gimmick fights. I'm not about that. It's not about the money anymore. It's about honor. It's about respect and paying respect to the company that gave me everything. So UFC, I'm a lifetime UFC fighter.
Just a couple quick ones. I know you go well prepared for these fights. Joaquin Buckley has been killing it at 170. He's 4-0. What have you made of his rise at welterweight? Has he impressed you? What have you made of his wins and his skill set?
Yeah, I've never watched him fight. I honestly,
not even in the lead up to this fight.
No, not even the lead. I never watched my opponents fight. Like, why would I worry about what they're going to do? They got to worry about what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring the bedroom cardio to the octagon on Saturday night. And I could tell you, a lot of mamacitas in Miami have been slayed in the last couple of weeks in the lead up to this fight. So the cardio is going to be on point. We're going to blow the roof off the arena. It's going to be electric. And, I got some special guests in attendance that'll be walking me out. It's going to be a memorable night. So I'm not really worried about what he does. He's going to have to worry about what I do.
Who are these special guests?
I wish I could tell you, I don't kiss and tell, I got to keep keep it a surprise. I got to make it a bigger deal. So, it's going to be a good one.
You said you don't kiss and tell, but you just told us she slayed half the women in Miami.
Yeah, but I didn't say names. And I could tell you the celebrities and all the people that are in my DMs and all the women that I've been with, but I'm not saying names.
And lastly, I don't know if you've seen some of the fan chatter, but like after your performance against Leon Edwards, a lot of people said, well, maybe we just saw sort of the best of Colby is already in the past. He's past his prime, this and that. How do you feel about that chatter? And how do you feel personally after having gone through this training camp? Do you feel like you're still an elite welterweight?
Oh, I know I'm still an elite welterweight. People don't realize, if you go look at the media day from before that fight with Leon, I tried to go do a training camp in Breckenridge, Colorado, because the altitude is like 9,000 square feet above sea level. I ended up getting HAP, which is high altitude pulmonary edema. It's altitude sickness. So I came into fight week on Monday with bad fucking altitude sickness. And people don't realize that. If you go look at the media day, I couldn't even talk. I had freaking phlegm coming down my throat, couldn't breathe. So already going into the fight, I was compromised. And then in the first 30 seconds, I throw a kick, I break my foot in 3 different places. So that's not a reflection of who I am and how I fight. I was just compromised. It wasn't my night, and that happens. It's one fight. I've had, 20, 21 fights, 22 fights. So you're going to have some hiccups here and there. I had a lot of adversity that I had to face in that fight. So Saturday night, I look forward to proving those doubters wrong and silencing all my critics.
Colby, over here to your right. Saw a comment from you, sir, recently that said right now you're currently in the best mental place that you've ever been in. What was the process of getting to that place?
Just forgetting about the chatter, not paying attention to anything or anybody's opinion, because everybody has an opinion in this world. And most of the time they're like assholes. They stink. So, just letting go of everything and just becoming free again and just being who I am, surrounding myself with positive, good energy. I got new coaches around me, a new team around me. So, I got people that are really uplifting me and giving me energy that I didn't have before. So I feel better than I've ever felt. I'm in my prime. I'm 36 years young. I trained smart, through the years. I didn't spar heavy where my brain's going to take a lot of damage. So I know I still have a lot of great fights in me, and the best is still yet to come for me.
What was the process like of constructing that team to make the best Colby?
I had to go find a good new striking coach that was going to give me that positive energy and have the time for me. The old coaches, they were busy with their family and, they had other fighters that they had to attend to and go to fights overseas. So I needed someone that was going to really be there for me, for Colby Covington Incorporated in my business and my event, especially on a short notice fight like this, 3 weeks. I needed them to be there every day and train on my schedule at nighttime, to simulate when the fight's going to be at, to acclimate to that time. And so, and then I brought in a great fighter, Roberto Soldic. I think that guy's the future. He's a fucking absolute specimen. He's been the greatest training partner I've ever had in my career. So I'm very thankful for Roberto for coming in and coming all the way across, from Europe to come train with me on a day's notice. And, he's giving me the best look. He's a way better version of Buckley. He would literally knock out Buckley in seconds. So, he's been a great training partner. I got my coach, Charlie Weiss. He's been one of the greatest assets I've ever had. Just great energy, always looking out for me, doing things for me. I got my advisor, John Hartnett, who's been with me since the beginning, and he does a lot for me. I got my new boxing coach, he's a 2-time Olympian from Nigeria, Albert Irmasel. So, he's a great coach, just great energy, just people that are uplifting me. And, I got some surprises guests also for Saturday that'll be walking me out. So we got a great lineup and everything just feels like it's clicking right now. And I feel like I'm going to put on the best performance of my career on Saturday night.
With the amount of high-level fights and intense training camps you've been in, is there a benefit to this one as a short notice and you don't have to put that wear and tear on you?
Absolutely. I know most fighters are scared to take short notice fights because they think they need like this 8 to 10 week training camp to prepare to really get their mind and body in the right place. But I feel like these short training camps are smarter and better for you because now you're not putting as much wear and tear. You're not as worn down mentally and physically from the hard training over the weeks. So I feel good. I feel fresh. I feel rejuvenated. And I feel like this is the way for the future. I feel like guys should just stay ready all the time and take short notice fights because then you're not going to beat your body up from sparring and training for an 8-week, 10-week training camp.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
Colby right here. Why do you talked about the sickness that you had before the last fight and obviously the injury in the first 30 seconds. why do you think that people specifically talk about you and they conveniently leave those things out? They just say that Colby's past it and all these things about you, but they don't talk about other people in that division. Like if other people in the division were to go out and get an injury or something like that, I feel like they would mention it. But you specifically, it's, oh, Colby's past it. Like, why do you think fans look at you that way?
I mean, I'm just the easy guy to hate. I feel like when people, you know, put hateful comments to me, either in the media or fans, it's just, that's like to get woke points. That's to get, you know, extra points for them. So, you know, we know all the MMA media hates, you know, the greatest president of all time, Donald Trump, who literally saved America in our last election, who's going to put America first again and, you know, American values. So God bless Donald Trump. He, you know, another guy who's inspired me in this training camp to see his work ethic. He was like in 3 different states every day, like doesn't sleep, literally sleeps an hour or 2, and just, he's serving the American people. He put his family, he put his business in jeopardy to put America first again and to put this country first again. So super thankful to Donald Trump and the inspiration he's given me. And, you know, could care less about everybody's opinions. You know, they love to beat me while I'm down or take shots at me, you know, and it's all right. You know, that's okay. You know, like I love criticism. I love people talking, but these same people talking are the same ones that could never walk a day in my shoes. You know, they've never done anything. They have no accomplishments in life. They're literally sitting in their mom's basements eating Cheetos and trying to tell me, oh, he should have thrown that kick. He should have done this right in the fight. Okay, well, if I should have done it, why don't you come out here and do it if it's so easy?
And then kind of going back to the beginning there, I'm not sure if they mentioned it or not. You said Joaquin Buckley's kind of a newer guy. You don't have too much to say about him. He was in here and he kind of told a story. He said he offered to help you train for a fight against Kamaru Usman. Was there any truth to that?
No, there's absolutely no truth to that. I don't know why he's making up lies like that. He just looks stupid by saying that. That's actually very dumb of him to say. Like, I'll tell you the honest truth. He came to the gym and I said, hey, you want to jump in conditioning? We can do some conditioning together. And that was that. You know, we never trained. We never did anything. So he wouldn't have been a look for Usman anyways as a southpaw. So it doesn't really make sense. I don't know why he would make up that lie.
And then you were on Twitch and kind of talking about how there's still no love for Kamaru Usman. You called him a cheater. You called him a coward. Is there ever going to be a trilogy fight somewhere down the line?
I hope so. You know, I really want that trilogy fight. There's definitely unfinished business there. I mean, every single fan when we walked out of Madison Square Garden the second fight knew I won that fight. They said, hey, how did you not get your hand raised? Like, they were all just like in shock and disbelief. He won 1 round. You know, the second round was his round. Okay, you got 1 round. It's a 5-round fight. So, you know, I know I'm better than Kamaru Usman. Like the first fight we fought, you know, with the food poisoning going in and the bad reffing. I was fighting 2-on-1 that night. Mark Not So God was stopping. I kicked him in the liver. The guy was done. He literally caught him in the liver. His organs were shutting down. And everybody knows when you get hit in the body shot in the liver, it's just, it'll shut your body down. And it doesn't matter how tough you are mentally, you will shut down. He was ready to shut down. They gave him a 5-minute break. I mean, and then these pushing me, Mark's pushing me like, oh, calm down, Colby, calm down, grabbing me, taking my energy away, like completely took my focus out of the fight, that first fight. But the second fight I won, the trilogy fight needs to happen for sure. If he leaves and we never get to fight that trilogy, then, you know, I'll have that over him. Then he didn't want to fight me and I was a better fighter than him. So, you know, I hope it happens. I think that's a fight that needs to happen.
Just real quick, just have one regarding Trump. I don't know if you saw, but a couple months ago, he said, I think in August, he said that Khabib was his favorite fighter. I don't know if you have any reaction, any comment on that.
He didn't say that Khabib was his favorite fighter. He just asked who are some of your favorite fighters, and he had saw Khabib the weekend before, so he's giving a shout out to him. You know, we want good relations with Russia, so you know it made sense to go that route. We want peace in the Middle East. We want peace around the world. We don't want Russia going after Ukraine. You know, we need more peace. So I'm happy. You know, he has a lot of great fighters. He has a lot of favorite fighters that he likes. You know, I know I'm one of his favorite fighters. That's okay. He invites me to Mar-a-Lago. I was sitting next to him on election night. You know, he's introduced me to Elon Musk for Thanksgiving. Actually, Barron Trump did that, but shout out to Barron Trump. He's the absolute future of this country, man. Thank Barron Trump so much. Guy's so smart. He talks like a freaking just 40-year-old intellectual, just freaking top of the class student. So super thankful to know Barron Trump and have got to share a conversation with Elon Musk. And you know, I asked him, hey, are we going to go to Pluto? Why can't we go to Pluto? And Elon started laughing. He's like, Colby, Pluto's way too far. But I can tell you that we're going to put 1 million people on Mars. So I was like, wow, Elon, that's so awesome. And, you know, he was just talking about who my favorite fighters were and this and that. And you know, it was a great Thanksgiving trip with Donald Trump and the family at Mar-a-Lago. So, you know, shout out to Donald Trump. He's literally put America first, put everything on the line for America first policies. And, you know, he's peace through strength. You know, he's literally, you see the way he treats these world leaders. They respect him. They bow down to him. They know when he walks through the room, he's the man, and America needs to be feared. This guy that we had in the office was literally a puppet, and he was senile. He doesn't even know where he's at most of the time. He's like looking around like, oh, where am I? World leaders are like carrying him off the stage. I mean, it's pathetic. Now we have a strong leader back. Donald Trump's going to make America great again, and he's going to make this country greater than it's ever been.
Hello, sir. Recently, you've verbally attacked Khamzat Chimaev, but if we abstract from his personality and life outside the cage, what can you say about him as an MMA fighter?
Dude, he's an absolute scumbag. The fact that he rug pulled all his fans, that's the most disgusting act I've seen in the MMA ever. Him and Khabib, like, just absolute scammers. Like, dude, you're making enough good money with the UFC. Now you're going to rug pull and do a fake mem coin and scam all your fans for millions of dollars. I mean, these are fans that are working their asses off every day at McDonald's or low income paying jobs, and they're investing in them because they trust the fighter and they like their fighter, and for him to just shit on all his fans like that, it's disgusting. I mean, that's why he's cum shot, you know. The guy's literally fucking, you know, just the worst person on earth. It's so sad that he did that to his fans. So, you know, as an MMA fighter, I don't think he's anything special. You know, I think that you know, he got exposed in that Gilbert Burns fight that he doesn't have good cardio. I thought Usman beat him, you know, when they fought. If that would have been 5 rounds, Usman would have beat him for sure. But I thought Usman beat him 2-1. So I don't see anything special out of Chimaev. He needs to stop fucking scamming his fans.
And a quick one from me. I'm just curious. So what's more important to you, winning in octagon or your popularity outside the cage?
Winning in the octagon, dude. This isn't about popularity, man. I don't do this for popularity. I do this, you know, to be the best and to leave a great legacy. I want people to remember Colby Covington, you know, a fucking century from now. I want this name to echo through people's minds forever, and to tell stories about how great of a fighter I was and how fearless and how I went against the grain. You know, I'm doing something that no one else is doing. Everybody likes to complain about me and say this and that, but they haven't done what I've done. They haven't, you know, they haven't killed what I've killed. So, you know, if you want to be a star in this division, you got to make yourself a star, and I've done that.
Thank you.
Hello, Colby. I want to know, what is your opinion about Ilia Topuria as a fighter?
Yeah, he's a great fighter, man. He's knocking people out. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. You know, I think he's a great young hungry guy, and you know, he's a dangerous guy. I don't think anybody's going to beat him in that featherweight division. So, you know, shout out to Ilya. He's been doing great, and you know, great branding and great gimmick and character that he has. You know, coming from his country, and just a great fighter overall.
Colby, I know you and John Jones have had quite a history. What did you think of his performance and him leaving New York with the heavyweight title?
Yeah, man, John has some fruity tendencies. I think the media needs to look into like some of the fruity things that he does. It's very strange. But I can't tell you, I know that he has been with some women, because I remember in college, you know, he always used to get like the fattest girls in the school. I'm talking 300 pounds plus. And he knows deep down inside, this is not a joke. He knows deep down inside, like, I know his dark hidden secrets that are in his closet. So he's been with some of the just fattest, just 300-pound slobs. It's disgusting. I mean, dude, John Jones is an absolute fucking disgrace to this earth. He's a fucking joke. I mean, yeah, you beat Stipe. Stipe, respect to Stipe first off, because he's a first responder, and you know, he puts his life on the line for the people and for his community. So shout out to Stipe. He's, you know, the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he was past his time. He shouldn't even have been there, man. He knows he was old, and he was just showing up for a paycheck. You know, that's not the Stipe of old, you know, that was in his prime anymore. So, you know, I don't think anything special that performance. I think John needs to stop ducking Tom Aspinall, just like he ducked Nagano. You know, he ducked Nagano for years. Now he's ducking Aspinall. So he doesn't want to fight the guys he knows he's getting his ass whooped against. So I don't think anything special to John Jones. He's a fucking coward. He's a cheat, and he's a woman beater. He needs to stop beating his wife and leaving her bloody in Las Vegas hotel rooms.
Hi guys, good morning.
Vitor, fun fight with Dustin coming up on Saturday. How excited are you to get back in there and compete against a fun striker like Dustin Jacoby?
Luta divertida no sábado. Você contra Dustin Jacoby, como é que você, quão empolgado você tá para uma luta com ele, com um cara que cai na porrada, né?
O Dustin Jacoby é um cara muito experiente no UFC, fez grandes lutas, né? É um cara que aposta muito no seu jogo em pé, então eu acredito que vai ser sim uma luta muito divertida. Um duelo de estilos ali, dois caras que gostam de se impor a todo momento durante a luta.
I think Dustin Jacoby's got experience in the UFC as a guy that likes to go at it. He likes to, he trusts, and he likes to impose his game, and he likes to be standing. And I think that it's going to be a fun fight between two guys that like to do the same thing, which is trying to impose their own game.
And I know you're coming off your first loss against Anthony Smith in May. It was the first loss of your career. What did you take away from that fight and losing that O?
E vindo de uma derrota contra o Anthony, a tua primeira na carreira, o que você extraiu disso? O que você aprendeu? Passar por um momento como esses agora para o futuro?
Eu acredito que faz parte do jogo, né? Ninguém gosta de perder, ninguém quer perder, mas infelizmente aconteceu. E igual a gente fala, tudo é aprendizado. Eu aprendi que devo respeitar mais meu corpo e algumas outras coisas, e alguns detalhes que a gente tem que corrigir, não só quando ganha, mas quando perde e vice-versa, né? Então, eu acredito que essa derrota me fez ver muitas coisas, né? Mas também, como sempre digo, eu gosto do que eu faço, eu amo o que eu faço, eu busco sempre evoluir independente do resultado. Então, você pode esperar, independente de qualquer coisa, cada luta um Vitor melhor e mais preparado.
I think it's part of the game. I think it's an opportunity for you to learn and to understand things that need to improve. I learned that I need to respect my body a little more, and other things. There are details that need to be worked on, and regardless of the result, win or loss, I always try to improve. And you can expect that I'll be a more prepared fighter and somebody that's more ready for the fights.
And last thing for me, Anthony just fought on Saturday against Dominic Reyes, and it was not his night. It didn't go well. He fought with a heavy heart. As someone who just competed with Anthony, wanted to get your thoughts on the performance in the fight.
A última pergunta dele, o Anthony Smith acabou lutando agora no último sábado, não foi a noite dele, e obviamente que ele estava no octógono muito emocionado. Só queria saber se você assistiu a luta e se você tem alguma coisa para dizer da luta que você viu do Anthony, se você assistiu.
Sim, eu assisti um pouco a luta dele, vi que ele estava muito emocionado, né? No começo do jogo ele entrou querendo liquidar logo a fatura, até alguns momentos colocou sua cabeça a jogo ali, né? Tomando alguns golpes, mas, pô, eu depois que eu fui entender que foi alguma coisa sobre treinador e tal, mas desejo todo sucesso para a carreira dele. Eu acho que ele é um cara que sempre entregou o máximo que ele podia em cada luta e continua entregando, né? Então, é um cara que merece todo o respeito dos fãs do UFC e também dos companheiros de trabalho.
I saw his fight. Yeah, I saw that he went for it all very early in the fight, even to kind of kind of charge forward to a level that he was putting his own head at risk at certain times and up for shots. I didn't understand. Obviously, I saw him being very emotional. I didn't understand it at first, and then I saw it was something related to a head coach, and I think he deserves all the respect in the world as a guy that has a great journey in the UFC, and a lot of he's known for delivering, and he's always given it all. So much respect to him, and he deserves it.
And a quick one, your past fight was your first professional loss. It was also at home in Brazil, and you were favored to win that fight. So I don't want to harp too much on the moment, but how was it like to deal with that moment, and how was it like to come back to kind of leave that mentally behind?
Voltando ao resultado no Brasil, então você estava em casa, não é mais invicto, mas foi lá no Brasil, faz tempo, você agora tem que volta a lutar com uma luta pela frente. Como é que foi o processo de você passar por isso lá, se preparar e agora, próximo desafio, bola para frente?
Para mim, independente. É claro que perder no Brasil tem um peso, né? Porque você está perto de casa, tem o público brasileiro e tudo mais. Mas, igual eu disse, foi um dia ruim de trabalho, merdas acontecem, faz parte. Não tem o que fazer com o que já foi, né? Agora é bola para frente, corrigir os erros futuros.
As I said, well, losing in Brazil carries some weight, but again, this part of the game, it was just a bad day at work. As I said, the shit happens, and sometimes you just have to turn things around and just move on forward and just get prepared for the next fight and move on up.
And just curious, how was sort of the fan response like once you're in the UFC? Like, you know, you're in a big spotlight now. Just wondering how sort of the fan reaction was, because they could be very, very fickle, right? The fan base can be sometimes very harsh.
E o povo, você sabe que como é que o pessoal às vezes a mão que afaga é a mesma que bate, né? Então às vezes as pessoas falam, os fãs falam as coisas, eles veem você como favorito, de repente teve alguma reação, você percebeu da galera? Como é que foi a resposta da galera, Tolo?
Sempre tem os haters, né? São a galera que te acompanha ali, que tá doido para você dar algum vacilo e querer aproveitar aquilo dali. Mas, como eu sempre digo, eu luto pelos fãs, eu luto para quem tá comigo, para quem me acompanha, para quem torce. Então, eu dou muito mais valor para as coisas positivas que vêm do que para as negativas. Então, as coisas negativas eu nem levo tão adiante, porque tem muita coisa boa vindo, né? Então, quanto melhor a gente puder aproveitar as coisas boas vindo, você acaba que esquece um pouco das coisas ruins, né?
Haters are always gonna hate, but at the same time, there's people there's always waiting for you to make one mistake and just pound on it. But try not to pay attention to that, because I think there's so much more positive coming from fans. As I said this, I fight for fans, so there's so many good positive things that they heavily outweigh the negatives, and there's so many good things coming my way that you end up even forgetting there were bad things.
Boa sorte, obrigado.
Peter, you're right, sir. It's going to be the second fight against a veteran. They are two training partners, so they've been able to share some of the knowledge. You find that to be a little trickier going up against the same team for the second time in a row?
E é a segunda vez que você vai enfrentar um cara experiente, eles também parceiros de treino, talvez compartilhem algumas informações. Como é que você acha essa coisa de não só enfrentar um veterano, mas também companheiros de equipe? Você está enfrentando um time, é você contra eles.
Só aumenta o gostinho de buscar cada vez mais a vitória, né? Pegar um companheiro do Anthony Smith, mesma equipe, então acredito que continua sendo um duelo dentro de casa. E é isso, mas eu tô aqui para enfrentar os melhores do mundo. Igual eu digo, eu tenho 27 anos, tenho muita lenha pela frente, tem nem 2 anos que eu tô na UFC, já fiz várias lutas, ganhei alguns bônus, então eu tô pronto para enfrentar qualquer um que vier, a qualquer momento, em qualquer lugar.
I mean, it just adds to the flavor, and the taste of victory would be better if I win, right? So another opportunity to face the team, a guy who trains with Anthony, and just you kind of keep it in, basically keeping in house, right? But you're here to face the best in the world. I think I've had short time. I'm only 27 years old. I got a lot of fire to burn. And also, I've been here for 2 years, and I've had bonus, I've had good fights. So I'm ready to fight the best in the world, and I'm ready to take on anybody, anywhere.
And one last thing on Dustin, what do you think is the most challenging aspect of taking him on?
E a última coisa, qual que é o maior desafio, ou os maiores desafios de enfrentar um Dustin? Como é que você vê ele como lutador? Onde é que você acha que ele realmente tem vantagens como lutador?
O Dustin é um cara muito experiente, já enfrentou grandes nomes da categoria, alguns até postularam um título ali, né, disputaram um cinturão e tal, então eu acredito que tem essa vantagem da experiência, né, de lutar com grandes nomes, mas também não é algo que me preocupa tanto, porque eu também já enfrentei grandes caras treinando com atletas muito experientes. Então, eu acho que se tem alguma vantagem, e teria essa, um pouco mais de rodagem do que eu.
I think the experience. I think he's a guy who's faced a lot of veterans as well. He faced people that have had title shots in the UFC. But I do fight with a lot of great people. I do have very good training partners, and guys where I've faced a lot of tough and experienced fighters, and I also train with them. But I think that would be an advantage of his. I think the experience and the people that he has faced in his career.
Thank you.
I just got one, just because it's your division as well. What do you make of the whole beef that's going on between Poatan and Jamal Hill right now? Like you must have seen the video of them at the PI. Like, what's your opinion on this whole thing?
Só porque tá na tua categoria, o que você acha dessa bronca entre o Poatan e o Jamal Hill? Você deve ter visto o vídeo deles, o Poatan falando com a luva, bota a luva, bota a luva. O que você acha desse draminha que tá acontecendo entre os dois?
Eu acho que o Jamal Hill fez muito dinheiro na primeira luta, né? E quer repetir o feito. Eu acho que ele sabe que o estilo dele é um estilo que não casa bem com o Poatan. O Poatan tem a vantagem ali, e o Poatan tá num hype muito bom, mas ele quer fazer dinheiro com essa luta, né? Então tá fazendo de tudo para promover e para voltar, mesmo vindo de derrota, né? Ele quer, eu acho que tá pensando muito mais financeiramente do que uma briga pessoal. Tanto que se fosse algo pessoal, no PI, na primeira confusão, eles já tinham brigado. Igual eu acho que o Poatan desafiou ele não quis. Então dá para ver que o pensamento dele é totalmente financeiro. Eu acho que ele não é um cara que está no nível, mas é um cara que quer aproveitar isso para fazer mais dinheiro ali, né?
I think he made a lot of money from that fight with Poatan, and I think he wants to repeat that. I believe that he's got a style that the matchup is not good for him, fighting against Poatan. And we know the result of that. So that's not something that he's looking for. I think he's looking at it on the financial side much more. I don't think it's personal. If you think about this, if it was personal, when Poatan challenged him and said, put on the gloves, they would have fought there, but he doesn't. That's not the beef that he wants. He just wants to make sure that listen, Poatan's coming off. He's got all that hype on him. So I just think that this is not personal. This is not related to fighting. I think he just wants an opportunity to have that shot, and he's thinking it with it through a financial prism more than anything else. And he's just trying to make money off of it.
Has there ever been a situation with you in the gym where somebody's thrown gloves at you and ask you to jump in there? And if they did, would you oblige?
Já teve alguma situação na academia? Eu estava em algum lugar aí treinando no Piá da Vida, um lugar comum, e você encontrou alguém que, sei lá, tinha uma certa bronca, ou tinha uma bronca contigo, e a pessoa falou, bota a luva aí, vamos sair na porrada. E se acontecer, se nunca aconteceu, se acontecesse, tu cair na porrada, não?
Isso nunca aconteceu, mas meus treinadores estão de provas ali, eu sempre gostei de me testar muito, né? Então sempre que vem alguma visita na academia, seja de um cara da categoria de cima, um cara muito bom, eu sempre me como posso dizer?
Modificou.
Não, sempre me botei pronto para fazer um sparring, fazer alguma coisa, né? Mas eu acredito que se alguém me desafiar na academia, ou seja, em qualquer lugar, na rua, num shopping, qualquer coisa, eu acho que todo desafio merece ser aceito, né?
That never happens to me, but see, the coaches are laughing because like every time there's a newcomer, somebody from another gym, someone even from a heavier weight division comes, I like to challenge myself, and I'm trying to find the words to describe it, but like I always put myself out there and say like I will do that. But so that never happened in that capacity. I'm always like to push myself for a challenge. I'm the one that wants to get a piece of that person. Now, if that ever happened at a mall, the street, something like that, listen, all challenges must be considered. Não, nada, pessoal. Deixa o Jim em paz.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Manel, how are you feeling? Another fight week. How are you feeling? How's the energy going into this fight?
Everything good. Feel amazing.
And this is a fight. You've had a few fights like the Mokaev fight and a few fights that kind of been heated, right? This one has been very respectful. Your opponent said that you guys even have trained in the past together. How's that for a change? The fact that there's no much animosity going into a fight. Has it been calming? How do you feel about that?
We never trained together, but we have a mutual respect. I know Bruno is a great guy, and actually is one of the guys of my manager team. So, but this doesn't matter that inside the cage, it's gonna be respectful. Of course, I'm going there to get my job done.
He thinks this fight could determine the next title challenger. He's on a streak. I know you're not, but you're still on a big name in the division, and you're still highly ranked. Do you feel like a win here could get you a shot against Pantoja?
Of course, a win against Bruno is gonna get me to the title, and I'm still in winning streak. By the way, I didn't lose my last fight.
Yeah, you still feel like you were.
I don't still feel I didn't lose my last fight.
Yeah, so, against Mokaev. And I want to ask you, what do you think of the Pantoja and Asakura fight?
Was actually a great fight. I see that it was first time for Kai Asakura to drop to 125, and he was not rehydrated like he was on bantamweight, and it was I feel that was the same thing that Dillashaw against Henry Cejudo, when he dropped to the 125. So I think he should first make some experience, about the weight, and then do the proper weight for the fight. I believe he was looking good. He was ripped, but he was not strong. He lost a lot of power.
Yeah. For if the UFC is considering to put Brandon Royval next, I guess. What would you say to them? Like, what would be your counter argument to saying, like, hey, no, think of me if I pick up a win on Saturday. I should be the guy that's next in line and not Brandon.
When Pantoja fight Brandon Royval, he makes sure that he win, and that win was like a unanimous decision, and it was pretty sure that the levels between him and Moreno and other guys he fought, it was not the same. If you look to my fight against Pantoja, was my first fight in UFC, and he didn't do anything. Of course, I didn't do so much, but I win rounds, So I'm a fighter, in 5 rounds. I grow up every round, and my potential, my skills, and it's gonna be a different fight.
And you're 1-1 with Asakura, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, 2-0.
2-0.
Of course, 2-0.
Do you see a third fight between you two at some point, or?
Would be amazing, if UFC bring to UFC Japan, and if it was for the belt, would be a great story, in the Saitama Arena, but he messed up his opportunity, but let's see what's the future come.
Thank you.
Manel over here. How tough was the loss? I mean, it's loss in the books, but in your mind, it's a win. But there's like so much bad blood. The fight was kind of weird. I personally thought you won that fight as well. And there were multiple moments where the referee could have taken points from Muhammad and he didn't. How tough was that night, and how quickly were you able to move past it?
So my fight against Mokaev, people was like saying that was a little bit boring, But if you look to the perspective of the fight in the first round, I get more damage than him. And I was looking for the fight all the time, chasing him. What he was doing was only a runaway from me. And his kick even didn't have any effect, because his kick was to get me away, Because there is no fight if someone tried to fight and another one tried to run away. And I show his wrestling is not on my level. On the second round, I tried to submit him, but he grabbed my short, So sometimes Shakespeare say that a man they are the owners of they feint, you know, and he changed his feint that night when he grabbed my shorts, and the worse than that was the referee. I think it was not a man. I think he get a bitch move. He was looking to him. He grabbed my shorts, and when I dropped my hands, I said that I lost the position. He still grabbed my shorts with the fear, because I was very deeply in that position, because this is one of my favorite positions, the knee bar. So I feel the victory in that moment, you know. If I get the victory in that moment, nobody would say that the fight would be boring, you know, because I had a finish. But on the other hand, the referee should take the point. So he didn't make the job. Mukaev will get fired, and one of the person should be fired was the referee as well, because he didn't do the job. You know, we see situations like Chandler beat the head of Charles de Bronze. We see that another guy bite another guy. So this situation was similar. So it was not just a fall of Mukaev, but the referee too. The referee was the main issue.
Do you think that's kind of a problem right now? Because I say this, and I'm half joking, but I'm half serious too, that all fighters should grab the fence and do all these different things, because it never gets called, ever. And you were a part of like 5-6 potential penalties in that fight, and no points were taken.
Listen, the referee, there is a situation when I punched Mukaev and he put a finger in my eyes, and I gave my back. And even in that moment when I turned my back, because it was bad, the referee didn't do anything. He didn't take any point. He only say it was your last arm. But when he was in the locker room, he said that any dirty movement, I'm gonna take the point. I'm gonna do this. He was just so loud. He was loud, but he didn't do anything. So if you do, you have to do your job. So I feel that in that fight, I was a fighter and I was a referee at the same time. You know, because it was me that stopped the fight at that moment. I stopped, and he followed my lead. The referee followed my lead when I say, "Hey, I lost the position," you know. But for the referee, he would let it continue the fight in that way. You know what I mean? So it was a multiple faults in that time, and he didn't do that job. I think that the UFC should fire him as well too. It's not just Mukaev.
Were you surprised that the UFC parted ways with Muhammad? Young kid, big win streak. Yeah, he hasn't blown.
He played dirty.
Were you surprised?
He played dirty. He played dirty. So he fucked me up, right? So why not? It's fair. You know, it's fair. Of course, play clean. Lose, tap, or get your knee again destroyed. We will love to see if, because he didn't tap at that time in that knee, and I go straight for that leg, because I knew, you know. So if you are tough, like you say, you have a heart of lion, so tap or let your knee break, you know.
He's actually got a fight coming up, I believe this week as well. And you say never in this sport. So when a fighter parts ways, doesn't mean they'll never come back. So is there anything you want to say to him? Because I assume that's a fight you'd like to have back someday.
Listen, I don't have nothing against him, by the way. I just feel that he's a dirty fighter. He's a dirty person. And good luck to him, you know. In league, I don't know if it's B, C, D, F, whatever it is, you know. Everyone have his karma. Like I say, the karma hits hard, you know.
You don't feel one bit bad about him getting cut from the UFC and ending it up in, I guess, smaller promotions. You don't.
Or you feel bad about me that I lose the fight that I should not lose?
Yeah.
Of course. I don't feel bad.
I think you were.
Because he grabbed my short.
Mm-hmm.
That was that moment was the biggest moment of the fight. If you guys understood about jiu-jitsu, if you guys understood about the ground game, or you see his body language in that moment, you guys see that he was in a deep moment that he see his first loss. In that moment, he saw his first loss, and you saw me, my expression. I was happy because that moment I knew if we go to the ground, there is levels. And my jiu-jitsu, I'm a black belt jiu-jitsu. I'm good as fuck, so I know what I'm doing. So he played dirty, so he have his feint too. That is not my fault, you know.
Manel, to your right. The matchup with Bruno Silva, does this feel like a familiar one, like you've seen his style before?
What about good about Bruno is that he don't walk back. You know, he try to find the fight. This is what I like. You know, so if he try to find the fight, I like to find the fight. You know, so we're gonna have a. I don't see a boring and too much student in that fight. I see a great collapse between me and him because he like to bang, I like to bang, you know. So it's gonna be almost the same my fight in Australia with Felipe dos Santos, and we have a great potential to win the bonus of the fight at night.
Thank you, sir.